So in my chemistry classes, students have to create what's called an element cube. It's a project about the periodic table. This video explains how to create the element cube. Once you open up the element cube blank, and it's a Microsoft Word document, this is what you're going to see. This first page of the document is an example of what the element cube blank looks like. Okay, and it says example in red letters across it. It kind of shows you what elements we're dealing with here, what the way that this element cube is set up. And what we do is we take all these cubes once they're put together and build a big periodic table which hangs on the wall outside my classroom. So the first thing you want to do is to find the information about your particular element. So we want to get a periodic table, and everybody in the class has been given a set of test references, and we want to turn to the periodic table and find your elements. Now some students will have two elements, and some students are required to do only one element. But let's just say, for example, that we're doing palladium. Okay, so that's number 46, PD, palladium, and 106.42. We could probably zoom into this a bit, maybe, and see a little bit more clearly. Put a little light on it, maybe. Here we go. There we are. And what I'm going to do is go back now to the form, and here's the blank version you're going to do. So the first thing is you go right here and highlight the big letter X and put in capital P, little d. Now all element symbols have to have a capital letter. If there's a second letter, it's always lowercase. If you fail to make your capital and lowercase letter clear, that it's clearly one's capitalized and the other one's lowercase, then you're not doing your job and you're going to lose points on the project. So then palladium, we said, was element number 46. So I'm going to highlight this 0 up here and put in 46. And then I'm going to type in the name, palladium, and make sure you spell it correctly. Okay. Notice I spelled it with a lowercase p. Now if you look at the periodic table, palladium has a capital P here. All right. The reason I want you to do it in lowercase is because I want to emphasize that element names are not considered proper nouns. Proper nouns are like the names. Your name, a city name, where you capitalize the first letter all the time. If palladium is in a sentence and it's not the first sentence in a word, the first word in a sentence, then you're going to write it with all lowercase letters. And then the last thing on the bottom here is the average atomic mass. So the average atomic mass for palladium, we said, was 106.42. I'd like you to use the same atomic mass as we have on the periodic table handout that I've given you. Okay? All right. And then in this box here, you're going to go on the internet and try to find interesting things about palladium. So we can type in into a search engine palladium, and we can find information about palladium, the chemical element. Now it's okay to put pictures on your element cube as long as you print it out in color where appropriate, and that you give credit for the source from which that picture came. So let's copy this right now. I'm going to copy the image, and we're going to go to the Word document, and I'm going to paste that image in here. Now that's way too big. Okay, you can't take up most of a block with that image, so we want to make sure that we have it, have it in there some part of the way, but not, taking up a whole lot of space. It would be also a good idea if you arrange that picture so that your text wraps around it. Okay, and this way, when I type in something about palladium, alright, so what I've done here is to type it out that way, and you can see now I've arranged it so that the writing all moves around it. I can put the picture anywhere I want to on the block, and the writing is going to, work its way around this, okay? But I need to say, where did this picture come from? So now to give credit for where this picture came from, let's go back to the web page we got it from to start with. And it comes from Wikipedia, and here is the actual web address at the top. Of course, it's not showing on this page because I've got it kind of down. Let's see, here we go. Now we've got it showing. Here's our Wikipedia address. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go back to my form. I'm going to say image from, and if I right click here, I can choose it to use the same format. Okay, so but that's kind of big. I don't really need all that space taken up by that, so we'll just shrink it down to a smaller format to show that we got it from a different source. Now you want your lettering for most things that you're typing about here to be about 12-point font, but no larger. Please don't type out things that are like huge. It's unnecessarily huge. But it's okay to have the information about that picture in a smaller format. Anything else you put in here, all right? If you're going to put information that comes from Wikipedia, we'll pop that page back up again, or any other web page. Say it's rare. All right, so I'm copying that. I'm going to go back to the form. And I'm going to, let's make sure our writing is going to be larger. Okay. And notice this is kind of going off the screen. There's some writing that's kind of disappeared below the bottom of this. All right. So what we want to do then is to take part of that. I'm deleting all of that that's kind of disappeared off the bottom of the box there. And I'm going to paste it now in this next box. And I need to be very careful about making sure it's very clear, okay? So we're saying that William Hyde Wollaston named it after the asteroid Pallas, and then we sort of taken the sentence and broke it out a bit. So we're going to say the asteroid Pallas was named after the epithet of the Greek goddess Athena, acquired by her when she slew Pallas, etc., and so forth. All right, so that's all there. Now what we need to do is say that this information comes from this same web page. So we're going to put it below this, and I'm going to move it and have it, see if I can show you this. Okay, so I'm going to tell it I want to justify to the right here. Okay, align the text to the right. So let's highlight the text. Just this last part here, there we go. And move it to the right like that. Okay, and then I also need to make sure I put it down here underneath this last section because it also comes from Wikipedia. And it needs to be moved to the right. All right, and so we've got part of it going here. We've got the first couple of boxes put in. We've got some other things to be put in here. Now what you have to do is it's also important that you put your name right here, right above the top of this box. So I'm going to put my name here. and I want to say that I created it. Or this cube created by. Okay? If your name's a little longer, you can figure out how to shorten that if you want to. I notice it's kind of just a little above the box here, so I'm going to highlight that. Show you what I'm working with up here at the top. I'm going to go to page layout, if it'll let me do that. There we go. And I'm going to create a little space, not after, before my name. And so now it kind of sits right above the top of the box there. Okay? And you just kind of keep working with it until you got a nice and attractive looking element cube. Now there are certain things that have to be in certain places. It is required that orbital notation, and this is all in the instructions right down here, orbital notation, electron configuration, and ion symbols should be entered into this cell. And we'll talk more about that in class, but you can also look it up. You can find the electron configuration and ion symbols elsewhere on the internet and put it in there. Also in this, you should put what the and you can figure out what the ion symbols are pretty simply. You can figure out the ion symbols pretty simply. We'll go back here to our periodic table or our test references, okay? And let's take a look at this periodic table, because this has the charge numbers for the ions. So writing an ion symbol is really, really simple. All we have to do is, here's our palladium. We have two ions, okay, a 4+ and a 2+. So going back to our form again. And I can do this. Notice my little tab down here at the bottom kind of went off the screen a bit. Try to pull it back up here because I need that to stay right there so that whenever I cut this out I have a tab to paste with. Okay, so palladium's common ions are PD, and the charges for that would be 4+ and 2+. So PD 4+ and PD 2+. Now you can't leave it like that. The 4+ has to be a superscript, okay? And there are some easy ways to set up your Microsoft Word to do this a little faster, but for us, we're going to go up here and click Home, and you can, in the font, you can go down and click Superscript right here, and that'll change that from a full-size 4+ to a superscript 4+. And then I got to do the same thing with the 2+ here. So that's how you create the ion symbols for palladium. The orbital notation, I have some stuff up here that'll help you to do that, okay? So the orbital notation, I capitalized it when it should be lowercase. If it's not in the beginning of the sentence, like this word here, it needs to be lowercase. It's not a proper noun. The way we're going to do this is we're going to type in PD and this symbol. Now, technically, orbital notation doesn't have a shorthand version, but for this project, and only this project, you're allowed to kind of write a shortened version of the orbital notation. So to do that, we're going to find the next lowest noble gas. So here's palladium, the next lowest noble gas, going back, and then back to the next row. There's the noble gas. So krypton is the next lowest noble gas from palladium. Okay, krypton, not kryptonite now. That actually doesn't exist. Okay, just so you're clear, kryptonite is a fictional thing that's only used in DC comics when we're talking about Superman. All right, it's krypton, not kryptonite. So to create this, then we need to have some brackets. So bracket, KR for krypton, close bracket, and then we can go up a bit and copy and paste the sections of these we need. So I'm copying and pasting just this part right here, pasting it in there, and so that's fine, except that in the highest energy level of palladium, which is all we're dealing with here, we need to have on, let's go back to the periodic table and I'll show you that real quick. So here's palladium. We're in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th row here, and so the S sublevel is going to be 5 and not 1. Okay, so we're just simply going to click in here, highlight that 1, and put in the number 5. Okay, and then I need a space because the next thing I need is the D sublevel. Okay, so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click on that same thing and copy it down here. I might need a little more space in between there just to separate those, but I'm going to need 3 of these. I'm sorry, we're not going to need 3 of these, we need 5 of these. Okay, we only need to show 4D in this first box. These others, all I got to do is just click on there and delete those letters and numbers. And now we've got an orbital notation for 4D. Now what we need to do though is to change a few things because what we only need for palladium, we need, let's go back and look at our periodic table. For palladium, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 electrons in this D sublevel. I'll go back to the image now, or the document we're working on. So you could go in and erase those things, but what we could do that makes it a little bit easier, take those 2 out and go back up here and click on this one, which only has 1 arrow in it. Okay, and then paste, paste, take out the numbers at the bottom, and now you've got the orbital notation for palladium. Okay, the electron configuration is similar. In fact, let's just do this. This might make our lives a bit easier. Well, just the first part. Here we go. There. The electron configuration. Try to spell. That would be helpful. And for these then, we're going to use a shorthand version, the same, it's very similar to that. 5s, and we need 2 electrons in 5s, 4d, and 8 electrons in there, but these second numbers, the 2 and the 8, need to be superscripted, so we do the same thing we did before. Click the down arrow next to font and choose superscript. I actually have my Word document set up so it's a little bit easier to do. It goes a lot faster, and I can show you how to do that if you want. Okay, so here's our orbital notation. Okay, and here's the electron configuration, and here's the ions. Okay, so I'm going to, just to kind of clean it up and make it look a little better, I'm going to kind of move it around a bit to make it look more attractive, because you do get points here for attractiveness of your presentation. Okay? And so that's what's required in that box. That has to be there. All these other boxes are pretty much anything that you think is interesting. Okay? You can color in any of these boxes you want to, except for this with the element symbol in the front. Okay? If you want to, if you know how to do it, you can highlight this and fill in that cell, or this, yeah, this is a table, so it's a cell, and show that that has, you know, make it pink or something if you want to. Okay. There's a lot of things you can do here with this to make it very attractive, and it's important that you not change the size of these boxes, because it's going to make a cube that will fit in our periodic table, and it's important that you have a very attractive presentation, that everything looks the way it needs to look on a periodic table. Everybody in the school can see it. They're walking down the hall, this periodic table is sitting on the wall, your name's on it. You want what you have your name on to look good and represent you, the school, and this class. Now there's another video for how to cut this out and paste it up into a cube. And you must have it in class, cut out, paste it up into a cube, ready to put on that periodic table in order to get full credit for it. On the day that it's due, it has to be completely done. So don't wait till the last minute. Get it all done, get it pasted up the day before, and bring it in to school ready to go. You can bring it in before school if you want to, so you don't have to carry it around all day and it doesn't get crushed in your book bag or something. But make sure that you bring it in on time. It would be a shame to do a lot of work on it and then lose 5 points because you don't have it on time. If it's not here at the beginning of class, already pasted up, ready to go, you don't get full credit.